Hello everyone, welcome back to this JavaScript series. So today we are going to understand loops in JavaScript. So if you have already learned another programming language, then the concept of loops is pretty similar. So what is loops? From the name itself, it is quite obvious that loops are something which can help us to execute a particular block of code for certain number of times. So why loops is required? So let me give you some example why loops are required or useful in programming languages. So if I tell you to go print hello 3 times, then it's quite easy. What you can do, you can console.log hello 3 times. Yeah, it's pretty simple. But what if I say you to print hello 1000 times? So it is very tedious. If you want to go, you can go using the same practice, but it is quite tedious to do it manually and print console.log 1000 times by writing each line. So in this case, loops are required. So in JavaScript, there are many types of loops, but as a beginner, we will only consider these 3 types of loops. The first one is for loop, the second one is while loop, and the third is do while loop. And in this video, we are going to focus only in for loop. So what is for loop? In JavaScript, we know that for loop is something which helps us to repeat something, maybe anything. It can repeat anything. It can repeat some function, maybe some block of code it can execute. But when we use for loop, we exactly use for loop when we exactly know the number of times we have to run a particular block of code. For example, I tell you to print number from 1 to 5. So here we know that we have to exactly run a loop how many times? 5 times. So here we know that we have to run this particular loop for 5 times. So we use for loop whenever we know the exact number of times we have to run a loop. So how to execute or how to implement for loop in JavaScript? So in the previous question, I have told you to print a number from 1 to 5. So we can write that particular code here. So let me write the code and I'll explain everything bit by bit. For let num equal to 1, num less than equal to 5, num plus plus console.log. So let me run this code and check the output. So here it is the output, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me explain this thing, how it works under the hood. Here, the for keyword is used to start a for loop. Then this particular line of code is used to initialize the start of the loop. Since we know that loop has a start and has an endpoint, so this is the start of the loop in our code. And this is the condition. Condition is fulfilled, then only the loop will continue. Otherwise, it will break and it will come out from the loop. So let me explain how this particular code is running behind the scene. So here I am initializing in the first iteration, the value of num is equal to 1. So we will check the condition if 1 is greater or equal to 5, which is true. So after checking the condition, after checking this particular condition, this particular line of code will execute. So we checked this 1 is less than equal to 5, which is true. So it will going to print 1 because we have stored 1 here. It is going to print 1. So after this particular line of code will execute. What is num plus plus? If you don't understand num plus plus is nothing but num equal to num plus 1. It means the previous value of num plus 1. So here, what was the previous value of num? That is 1. And again, we have to plus 1 equal to 2. So now, the current value of num is equal to 2. Iteration, num is equal to 2, right? Then we'll check the condition 2 is less than or equal to 5. So if it is true, it is true, then it will going to print 2. Then the value of num will be incremented. That is 2 plus 1 equal to 3. Right. So in the third iteration, the value of num is 3 and 3 is less than equal to 5, which is true. So it is going to print 3 and now it will do the incrementation part. So it will be 3 plus 1 is equal to 4. And in the fourth iteration, what is the value of num? That is 4, right? And we'll check the condition. 4 is less than equal to 5. Yeah, it's true. Then it's going to print 4. Now it will do the incrementation part, that is 4 plus 1 equal to 5. So in the fifth iteration, what is the value of num? That is 5, right? Yeah. So 5 is less than equal to 5, which is also true because 5 is equal to 5. So it is going to print the number 5. And now the iteration part will take place, that is 5 plus 1 equal to 6. So in the sixth iteration, we'll check num value is 6. We'll check the condition. 6 is less than equal to 5, which is not true. Which is not true means it is false. So it is not going to print anything and it will terminate from this particular loop. So this is how the for loop works under the hood, and that's why we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 as a result. So you can use for loop for anything. If you can write a particular function here and you can execute that particular function any number of times. So this is the basic of for loops, and